Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and today is day 2 of Vlogoween. And today I wanted to talk about the cassowary, but I kind of wanted to touch on large flightless birds. So when it comes to composition of drawing certain birds, some of them are like half the illustration is body and then the other half is head, which makes the illustration smaller, which makes the fine details of the face smaller. When you look at the sketchbook you are working in or what sketchbook you've been working in, this is one I've been working in. I've been doing it vertical orientation for the last few months, so I'm kind of stuck on that. So if I go to draw a bird, I'm going to think about it vertically. Now, if you see an image of a bird and it's more horizontal and you're working vertically, it's going to be very tiny. You can choose to repeat portions of it in flight. Like here you have the whole thing, here maybe you have the tail end, here you have a head, and then it's like 3 of them, which gives you a really interesting sort of diagonal composition. But for that you may want to turn the page so it's more bird on the page. Think about it in terms of what is most important to you. Are you trying to get across the entirety of the bird? Is it really important that you see all of it? And if it is, why? Or are you just trying to denote the portions you find the most interest in? Figure out if you're going from a reference photo or if you're going from birds in your area. Think about what important information you want to convey on the page, and that will help you determine what composition you have. Now, for large flightless birds, you tend to lose the details of the face, like the ostrich, the emu, the rhea, the cassowary. If you're including the entire body, then the face becomes very small. But if the face to you is the most intriguing portion, consider the composition of kind of cutting it off at the neck, not literally, and just having the face. Maybe that's the most interesting portion. For the cassowary, I find the really rich blues of the neck to be much more intriguing than sort of the black feathers of the body. I think they have a very expressive, distinct face, and to me that is the most important portion of this bird. There is a second portion of this bird that's important. We will touch on it later. When we get to bird feet, we're going to come back to the cassowary a little bit because they have some unique attributes. But I wanted just to touch on composition, because if you go to draw a really tall bird like a crane that is a lot of leg and then a little bit of body, then the leg is what is going to draw the eye first. People are going to look at that. And if that's a significant thing to you, if that's what you're trying to get across, look how tall this bird is, look how much leg it has, then including the whole thing on your page will do that. If you just want to denote portions of the fluffy feathers of the crane, then maybe just having a little tiny bit of leg so you have more body in here would work as well. So think about that when you go to draw your bird. Do you need to convey the entire bird for your message, to get your point across, to get the illustration you want? Think about this. So I'm going to draw the cassowary today, and I won't show the entire process because every video of mine would be would be really, really long, and there isn't time for all of that. But I love this bird. It is considered one of the most dangerous birds in the world. And it, for people, for humans, it definitely doesn't like being touched or messed with. It's typically actually a shy bird. It's from New Guinea, and it also lives in northern Australia. And I think it's just anything blue in nature I find really, really intriguing. Sometimes in nature, blue denotes poisonous, like the poison dart frog or the morpho butterfly. Like both of those are blue, and you don't want either of those. So for me, I really like the coloring. I really like sort of the textural nature of what looks like the sagging skin on the neck. I know that sounds so strange. but I do. So I thought this would be a fun one to draw. 90% of their diet is fruit. They eat other bugs and little things too, but most of it's just fruit, which is pretty cool. And again, these are flightless, you know, omnivores. Let's see, we are gonna put the eye right here, I think. And I really love the eye in this reference photo. There is a little dot of eye shine. It's a really rich brown orange color that I'm going to need to get some things out for, and probably this one too, for the eye. And just the blue is so beautiful. So what I'm doing right now is just marking off the different color sections. So this is kind of the crown portion on top, and this is browns into sepia into dark black. Here is going to be dark black. And then it goes into indigo and all the beautiful blues. There's even like some really pale, that light blue right there. What am I going to use? I'm going to use this one, cobalt green, a little bit. And that'll work nicely in conjunction with phthalo blue. And then as we get to the neck portion, the shadow will be in indigo, and the other side I will do helio reddish, which is a really beautiful blue. So I have drawn this bird before. I did a birthday card. I say happy bird day, and sometimes I do bird cards for people's birthdays, which is fun. Okay, so this is the basic shape of the sections of the colors, and I'm just sort of blocking that out so I know for composition what that's going to look like and in those specific areas, and then I can get started and we can do the eye on camera, since eyes are one of my favorite things ever. Okay, let's see. So there's black. There's definitely black here. There's a lot of black in this bird. I also have a little bit of convenience color of sepia, which you can tell I use a lot. If you get into illustrating and drawing animals and drawing birds, having a wide range of convenience browns will save you time. If you have time constraints and that's where your interest is, think about it. I would say start with a middle range set. You don't need to have 200 of any one thing. I purchased for those new here, I purchased the 36 set of polychromos, and I've been adding convenience colors as I go. Some of them are the Caran d'Ache luminescence, just because they'll have that specific shade and maybe it has a better light fast rating. And I like not having to worry about light fast ratings when I'm drawing. That's just one thing I don't want to think about. So you are curious about light fastness in colored pencils, check your purples and your magentas. Those are the ones that are really hard to get those rich, bright colors and then still have them be light fast. It's very, very difficult. So you may have to switch to Derwent Light Fast for purple. That's just a suggestion. If you are doing commissions or pieces that you are gifting, think about that as you go in. Having a mixture from different brands is a good way to go. You get the best of all worlds. And then just keep in mind, the softer the colored pencil, the easier it is to blend, but the more you have to sharpen if you do tiny details. So figure out how large you like to work, what you demand of your supplies, what you want from them. And then from there, you can pick and choose and buy the ones that are best for you, and you won't be wasting any money. And then a hand sharpener of some form. It'll eat less pencil, especially if you get into the higher priced ones like Caran d'Ache. I like the Mobius Rupert. Let's see, do I have one on me? Ah, right here. This is the brass one. It's about $10. Not the most budget friendly. but you can buy replacement blades, and I like that option. So I'm going to do, I think, sepia for the center of the eye. It's almost not quite black. And again, you may not see any differentiation here, but I know it's there. And the ring around the eyes looks, gosh, it looks almost reddish. I'm going to be real careful here. I don't want it too red, so I'm just going to press really, really lightly, and then maybe add some brown with it. And that's how you can kind of undercolor some of these. I don't want it too red. And then I'm going in with my raw umber. I use raw umber a lot. I love this color. Very underrated color. Okay, and then there's the little eyeshine dot. It is hard to see the ring around the eye, so I need to add more brown. Just keep working, and then maybe little veins and things in the eye. And a little bit of red, a little tiny bit of red, reddish orange. This one is, oh, pale geranium lake. But paired with brown, it's really nice. By itself, it's very bright. So just think about that when you go to create and stuff. Maybe have their new colors to you, having swatches, so you understand sometimes the barrel of the color or however it's labeled. Here's the Caran d'Ache. They just do a little thing on the ends. Sometimes that matches exactly to the pigment inside the pencil. Sometimes it doesn't. So creating swatches where you start dark and you get lighter to lighter to lighter will show you the full range of what that pencil is capable of. And then just practicing layering colors. Draw real light and then layer a different color on top of it. See how that looks. Try different things out. You'll really get a larger range within your colored pencils when you start layering them and trying and experimenting with them. So don't be afraid to do that. It's a good way to go. Especially if you buy like a tiny set. If you only have like a set of 12 and you're working with only one green, practice layering that lightly under blue, under brown, under black. See which different shades you can get with the black. And your stuff will just go much farther. And they have funny faces. This is a photo that I found on Pixabay. This is royalty free. So we're doing all right there. Let's see who this photo is from. I want to give credit. I apologize for not having that ready. Where is the photo? Okay, this one is by J.M. Rockman. So, thank you, sir. We appreciate your photography skills. This helps us. The better the reference photo, the more details you can choose to add and include. Better to have more details and not need them than need them and not have them. So if somebody says, hey, I see that you like painting animals, I will hire you to paint my pet. Pets are a very popular commission, by the way. And then they give you something of their dog in motion and it's just blurry. You're not going to know where the wild whiskers are, and you know, maybe there's part of their fur is dyed from food, or from they have a brindle pattern or something, and you're missing it because the photo just isn't top quality. Ask for the photo that they would be willing to frame in itself because it's such a good detailed photo, and then that's the photo you want to draw from. So that's how I do it. And that's been pretty successful. So if you want to get into commission work, find what is important to other people, what they value, And then that is something that you pitch. So portraits of kids. Kids are ever growing, ever changing. They age very quickly, especially infants, infant portraits. The proportions on those faces are different than kids and adults, so be mindful of that. Pets, first houses, things like that. Maybe a landscape photo from an important place. You just figure out what's important to them. If they want some art, maybe it's from the city they were born in, or the one they fell in love in or got married in, or a honeymoon, things like that. Important moments. Recreating from old photographs can be very, very difficult, especially if they're like aged. You know, have a magnifying glass, do the best you can, and then mitigate expectation. Just communicate with the person, like, this is all I can see, it's not going to be super detailed, and then they'll understand if they're still interested in it. So, animals are awesome though. Bugs are fun too. I did a whole thing of bugs. I have a whole playlist that is nothing but my sketchbook tours. And I have a couple sketchbooks in there that are just birds. I have a watercolor one. I did Decembered a couple times. I did it last December and the December before that. One with like a pilot pen and one watercolor. So if the subject matter is the same thing over and over and over again, and you want to spice it up, if you're starting to get bored or restless or unenthused or unmotivated, maybe switch up the medium. There's no reason why your bird a day can't be a different medium every 3 to 5 days. And then you're sort of cycling through all the supplies you own. And you're making sure everything gets used up. And that's a good way to go. Sorry about that. Anyway. So, there's things you can do with these challenges. I know some people prep the month before. I kind of am a day before person. I don't know. It sounds like procrastination because it is. So if you want to have a pre-made list, or if you're going off someone else's list, have backup birds. Always have backup birds. Again, I will link the Wikipedia list of birds and the Wikipedia list of national birds. If you're really hung up on one, or there's one you just can't, you don't like it, it's not working for you, it's just sucking all the joy from drawing and creating, switch to a different bird. It's okay. If you're doing this to try and get likes and follows and things, just still tag it with whatever Birdtober or whatever you're doing. It doesn't have to be from a specific prompt list if the prompt list is no longer fitting your needs and exciting you as it should. I'm going to add some indigo to this. This looks very blue. I have a pencil holder here. I have a pencil extender and a pencil holder. The pencil extender can do teeny tiny pencils, and this one is just mostly for comfort and sort of mid-range ones that are running low. It doesn't hold super, super tiny ones. I wish it did. See, they start to fall out. So these are things to think about if you are getting into colored pencils in a real big way and you plan on working with them, or pastel pencils or watercolor pencils. Like, if all your supplies are in pencil format, consider getting a holder or an extender and really lengthen the life of your supplies so you don't have to purchase them. You can have a budget. My daughter was in here. Bye, baby. Yeah, it adds up so quickly, the pencils and stuff. So, just thinking about all that. And this guy comes over here and he goes down. Good grief. He just has such a fun face. I like this bird. If you go on Wikipedia, I will link it, and you want the deep, dark, dirty tragedy of this bird, it has killed a couple people, kids. It's sad. I'm not into it. But if you are curious just how dangerous this bird can be, it can be very dangerous, especially for smaller children. So if you ever see one of these, if you're in Northern Australia or Guinea, telephoto lens. Watch your kids, have a talk with them about it. We don't kick birds, we don't approach big birds, those sort of things. Appreciating without, engaging, where you just look at them from a distance. I'm not sure if these are in zoos, they may be. The shoebill is another bird that can be very dangerous. Its nickname is the murder bird. It's from Africa. I know they have one in an Asian zoo. They sound really strange when they make noises. That one gets really tall. So there are some large birds that just be cognizant of them if you are birding. We have some unique birds where I live, so we get some people all over the world where I live, and every once in a while I'll run into somebody and we'll chat about local birds because they're just everywhere. Like, you could drive by and see an owl if you want. They're just hanging out, or huge turkey vultures and stuff. They're just kind of there for everybody to see. So I don't know. We live here, so we're pretty cognizant of this stuff and we're real careful. But sometimes if you are new to an area and you're not sure, ask locals about certain things. That way you don't get in trouble for touching stuff. We have some sharks where I live. Yeah, beach life, we have some sharks. If they end up on the sand, do not photograph yourself with the sharks, please. We had somebody get bit. The shark was still alive. Just be real careful and real respectful of the wildlife around you. And if you see people approaching, just educate them. That's what we do. We tell folks, no, it seems fine. It could not be fine. It could turn out not to be fine really quickly. Please enjoy your vacation with all your appendages. That's the goal here. So, see a little green. It looks a little greenish. I'm just going to tie it in with this color. Anyway, fun times. Fun times living in nature. We will get to I will do one of our local birds that's endangered, and we can have a talk about that. Understanding that wildlife and talking to folks and making sure that that's brought up at local meetings and things in the community, and just everybody educated. That's the goal. But if you like bird watching, I would be curious to know what your favorite bird is you have seen. I bird watch at our zoo. Our zoo has really cool birds. And then, driving by. If I drive by somewhere, odds are pretty good there's going to be something big and wonderful out and about, worth seeing, and that's always really cool. So under here should be shadow. So this is going to be black and indigo for a bit. The indigo is the darkest blue I have in my set. It's also one of my favorite blues. So, getting that in there. Just making sure I do this little birdie justice. It's so cool. More colors you can layer and add on and do things with, the more realistic it'll look. But this bird has such like little fine wrinkles and things that it reminds me of like skin and fingers, which maybe you don't want in a bird. Maybe you don't want to be reminded of that. Let's see, this comes out a little bit more. So it may not be for you. It may not be for everybody. But again, I like blue in nature. I find it absolutely fascinating. For my purple lovers, you know who you are. Purple in nature is really fascinating too. So maybe we'll find a purple bird to do and draw for you folks. You know who you are. I love people that love purple. Oh, you can always tell because like their nails are purple, their bag's purple. You just know. There's no secret. I love it. Okay, there's a little indigo around the eyes. So working on the beak, and that's what I've got so far. I might need to add, gosh, a little bit of brown. You can warm it by adding a little brown over it. You can cool it by adding a little bit of dark blue. Depending on, black isn't really solid black in animals in nature, in photographs. So when you go to sort of recreate that, figure out the undertones, figure out sort of which direction that's skewing. Does it skew warm? Does it skew cold? Have on hand maybe some swatches of like ivory black, of warm gray, of cool gray. You know, sometimes you can go into hardware stores and they let you have paint swatches. You can find some that are very clearly have undertones. And with that, you might be able to sort of color match and use color cards to sort of pinpoint where these animals are at with their undertones, especially when it comes to camera angles and lighting and stuff. Because you can check one photo and it can skew this color, and you can check another and it can skew another. And then some photos are touched up by folks. For some reason, red-eyed animals make folks uncomfortable, so that is something that gets tweaked with, especially if the bird has red eyes. I don't know why. People just find that uncomfortable, and so they'll change it in like a photo editing thing. So if you see a bunch of things and there's a bunch of discrepancies, go to your browser and just type in specifically, what color is blank's eyes, to get the actual color so it's more, if you're going for realism or authentic, that'll help you. Again, I don't know why people change it, but they do. So again, that's just something to be mindful of. Let me get into the color. I'm itching for the color, but it's like real pale. And there's yellow bits, so I'll have to put in the raw umber again. I just have to be careful or I'm going to turn the whole thing green, and I don't want to do that. So just be mindful of what certain things layer as. You can always add more. It's harder to take away. So keep that in mind too with colored pencils. And it's just bit by bit. So just go section by section. A lot of this can be very time consuming. If your library has access to audiobooks, that helps. Having a YouTube playlist of music to listen to, podcasts. You know, sometimes this can take a real long time to draw. You could invest some hours into some of these, depending on how big you go, how fast you work, what supplies you have on hand for convenience. So keep that all in mind when you go to create. If you are in a hurry or you've had a day where you've just felt rushed all day and drawing isn't going to calm it down or slow it down, maybe think of drawing less for that day. Just really check in with your mood. And again, composition and page, and what's the most important thing you want to get across with your illustration. Because to me, when I look at the cassowary, it's the face. It's such an unusual, gosh, it reminds me of like the Cornothus. I don't know, there's a dinosaur it reminds me of. That one that hoots and toots and makes noises with its, like has a weird horn thing. I don't know, it just reminds me of that. So to me, this bird looks very dinosaur, and I want to capture that, the face. I want to capture its face because that's where I see it. So to me, that's the most important thing I want to get across to my viewer is look at this bird's face. Isn't this wild? Do you think this is as wild as I do? If you are over it, if this bird lives in your area and this is just boring to you, you are a lucky duck. But yeah, I think this bird's pretty amazing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love an ostrich because their feathers and it looks like their eyelashes and all their stuff is just absolutely wild and it cracks me up. But this bird just screams dinosaur to me. So that's what I'm going with. And I got to figure out this shape. I drew it really round, but I think it's more like an upside down teardrop. And I want it a little below the eye. Let's see, we'll go in with black. It's a little, make sure I got that kind of correct. Okay. Part of it's really dark. So, and then part of it seems to lighten up a bit. And learning how to blend darker areas into lighter ones into darker ones, that's really, really good practice, technique practice for colored pencils and stuff. Blending is key here with colored pencils. That's what gives you that air of realism, of things jumping out at the page, of there being depth. So this one's kind of this color over here. I have a pencil board again. This paper's really thin. But you can see, I don't know if you can see in this reference photo, from here there's like little tiny wild hairs that are like black. They look black in this photo. That's a lot of fun. For drawing, that's just fun. Like, weird is wonderful. So, highly encourage it. He's starting to come to life. You're starting to see him. There are 3 different kinds. There's a northern, there's a southern, and there's a pygmy cassowary. And I think one of them might be endangered. I don't know. Or one is newly discovered. I think the northern one is newly discovered. I think that's really cool when they find birds. Or they realize this whole time that there's a different variety and they had them lumped together this whole time. Like, that's fascinating too. So. Back in with my indigo. I have some videos about indigo if you're interested in the history of that color. There's a lot of countries that make their own, like authentically and very differently with different ingredients. There's, I think, 3 different types of indigo plants. Woad is the one that grows best where I live. That one needs the least amount of heat. If you're going to try and make your own, it is a process. There are people online that do harvest and make their own indigo, and they make videos about it. check YouTube for references if you want to see what that process is like, if that's something you're interested in, harvesting and making your own pigments for different things. It looks like a dedicated process. It looks really time consuming to me. It looks so rewarding though within that process. Like I can't imagine going from plant to pigment like that. It sounds really beautiful. So if that's something that interests you, stay on this platform. There are folks that post about their adventures in indigo making and harvesting and dyeing and the entire process. So okay, that's probably all I'm going to get to. Otherwise, this video is going to be 800 hours long. And I love drawing in real time. It's just more realistic. Our dog says hi. And I love showing you from start to finish. But again, like time. So I hope you enjoyed this. I will put whatever I have up on the thumbnail. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.